Hello there, how was the school?
It was okay, but these people so weird.
What do you mean, kiddo?
It's a weird country. I would like to be back home.
Son, I work here, and besides, last week you liked it, what's up now?
They talked about this crash, Dad, and they couldn't agree on anything. They asked me to judge the discussion, but I couldn't, because it was too hard to figure out.
It's good you didn't get involved. You need to stay out of it.
But why? What's up with that investigation? Can you tell me about it, please?
Son, there are things you shouldn't talk about at school, and that's one of them. It's a political issue. We are not allowed to take sides and pass information to locals. That's the protocol. Do you understand?
Okay, but Dad, help me understand, just for the sake of it, why some guys say there's an investigation and other guys say there's no investigation. Is there an investigation?
No. There is no real investigation. But you are not to talk about it. All right? You promise?
Okay, Dad, I promise, but I am confused. The teachers say there is an ongoing military investigation. How is it possible there is no investigation?
Son, it is because they only collect evidence from the Russian investigation. They call it formally as such, but there is no real investigation. They send letters and inquiries to Russians and collect their responses. They also make local hearings and requests from Russians and send protocols to Russia.
Dad, but it was a Polish plane, right? How come they don't investigate?
Poles don't investigate because their prime minister met with Putin in Russia and agreed they would use the 1944 Convention on International Civil Aviation as a basis for the investigation.
But Dad, it was a military plane, wasn't it?
Yes, son. It was a military plane and it was a military flight with a flight number PLF 101I-M.
It is so confusing. Why can't they investigate themselves?
It was a diplomatic decision, son. They could have used the 1993 Agreement on Military Aviation, which would force a joint Russian-Polish investigation with all access to evidence. But Poland receded their legal right to investigate and left the whole evidence to Russians.
Why would they do that?
Apparently the Polish government did not want to be involved in the investigation.
But Dad, the Russians don't investigate either, so how are they going to solve it?
They aren't going to solve it. That's the whole point.
But Dad, it was an accident, right?
I can't tell you that.
Dad, some say it wasn't an accident. They say it was a bomb.
Son, I cannot tell you that either.
But Dad, if it was an accident, then why don't they want to show the flight data from the fast access recorder?
I don't think they have the fast access flight recorder because they gave it back to Russians.
Didn't they make a copy of the data?
I do not know. There are no reliable sources saying they have a copy.
But Miller, the Minister of Internal Affairs, told the families of the victims they still have the recorder.
Son, that person also said it was a civil flight.
But Dad, how could they have a flight recorder in the first place, when the plane crashed in Russia?
There were 4 recorders, 3 Russian and a Polish-made fast access recorder. All were recovered and the Polish recorder was sent to Poland for data retrieval. It was later sent back to Russia.
Dad, but what about the MAC report? Why did they put the blame on the pilots only?
The investigation was directly supervised by Vladimir Putin. They followed the initial agenda to put a blame on the pilots. They said the pilots should never have approached in the given weather conditions. Make stated, there was no decision to go around.
Dad, but the newspapers wrote there was a Polish FVR analysis saying they decided to go around at 100 meters.
Russians did not accept that analysis for their final report. As I said, it was a political issue, not a real investigation. Russians stated the pilots tried to land regardless of the weather conditions.
But Dad, the newspaper says the pilots gave command to go around.
That command is not shown in the official make transcripts.
But Dad, according to a witness, the plane was trying to take off at full throttle. How come they say they didn't try to go around?
Yes, the plane tried to go around. The question remains when they started the go-around. According to Make, they did it at the 20 meters altitude, which is physically impossible.
Is it true the control tower gave them incorrect distance readings?
Yes, son, it is true.
Is it true the tower gave them incorrect path readings?
Yes, son, it is true.
Is it true the controllers didn't want them to land but Moscow said to let them land?
Yes, according to the newspaper publications, the tower controllers did not want to allow them to land but were influenced by a higher authority in Moscow.
Is it true the Polish investigators' requests for additional information were denied?
Yes, actually there is a compilation of notes of the Republic of Poland, which states there were 189 unanswered requests for information.
Is it true the crash evidence was being destroyed?
Yes, the crash area wasn't secured and many plane parts were left on site and subsequently stolen. There were TV programs showing how Russians handled the remaining evidence by cutting it. The trees around the crash site were cut and removed. The crash grounds were leveled and paved. Also, there was an event where unknown people broke in the make offices in Moscow, where they spent many hours opening 25 safes in 18 rooms. Some sources reported some files missing. However, the official story was that only a TV and a camera was stolen.
Is it true that NATO and General Roger Brady offered help with the investigation?
Yes, General Roger Brady, the U.S. Air Force commander in Europe, offered NATO's help with the investigation. Unfortunately, there were no actions taken by the Polish authorities.
Dad, do you think there should be an international investigation?
Yes. One person on board of that plane was an American citizen. The plane carried top military personnel. Poland is a NATO member, therefore the crash investigation is not an internal Polish affair and should be investigated further. There are too many doubts related to that crash. The final Russian report cannot be trusted, and apparently Polish authorities cannot be trusted either.